I know how it feels. I know how it feels to want more for your life, but to fear the ideas and the actions that you need to take to get there. Just 6 years ago, I was just freshly graduated from college, and I really did not know what I wanted to do with my life. I had some idea, but the concept of going into business for myself, of hiring other people, of trying to do everything that was required, of effectively starting this career, just seemed so out of touch. It seemed so daunting that just a single step in that direction was something that I was not willing to take. And since then, I've been able to start that business. I've been able to hire my team. I've been able to scale 3 times into different offices and to continuously to upgrade the offerings of the business, of my staff, of how I manage my day-to-day. But I made many mistakes along the way. And I think one of the things that we have, our generation has as entrepreneurs, is we have the ability to learn from others. Why would you not want to learn from someone who has made the mistakes that you're about to make? Why would you want to make those mistakes on your own when you can learn? Sure, I understand that sometimes the lesson learned when you fall and you scrape your own knee, that scar can teach you a deeper lesson that a book or someone else's experience can never teach you. But this is my way of telling you what my scars are, what scars that I'm still dealing with today, so that hopefully if you find yourself in the same shoes as me, you can learn that you can shorten that time, that you can go through less hardship, less pain, make fewer mistakes, let less people down, and move forward towards your goal. These are the mistakes that I've learned as a young entrepreneur, someone who started their own business, self-made, from scratch, and is still doing it to this day. These are mistakes that I still deal with on a day-to-day basis, but I'm well aware of them. Number 1 is that it is the fear and the inaction. Fear is something that multiplies. The more you pay attention to the fears that you have, the more that they grow. You have to look at fear as something that is imaginary. We all have fear. We have fear because it's a way to tell us to stay away from the things that are harmful for us. Well, biologically at least, that's how we evolved. But fear in this day and age is no longer an idea that, oh, stay away from the fire or stay away from that saber-toothed tiger. Fear is our own shortcomings. It tells us that we are not enough, that if we were to try to do something, that we would never be able to achieve it. Fear gives us a false ideation of reality. And if we fear enough, eventually our fears become our reality. And we find ourselves with too little life and too much fear to effectively draw those fears out. Fear leads to inaction. Inaction leads to a horrible life lived. What I've learned is that the things that I fear the most are the things that I have to face the most. And sometimes when you're so deep in the weeds, whether it's the fear to take a bold step in your business, whether it's the fear to approach the person that you love, whether it's the fear to do XYZ, fear is always outlined by some form of idea that we are not enough and that we cannot do what we set out to achieve. How I've overcome this is I've stacked evidence. I've continuously stacked small wins that prove to myself time and time again, even in my deepest and darkest moments, that I can achieve and I can do the things that I set out to. And it's something that you stack over time. You cannot overcome the monumental fears of starting an own business or changing who you are or doing up and leaving and going to a new city without having some semblance of confidence in yourself. This confidence comes from these small steps that you take, the small wins that you accrue day in, day out. Get up today, accrue small wins. Get up early, brush your teeth, get dressed, go to work, be on time, say hello, be polite. Stack small wins. Avoid things that are detrimental to you, that ruin your own image of who you are. Number 2 is that I've always hired in a way that sometimes is polarizing. Sometimes I hire poor quality people and I give them the benefit of the doubt. I think when you're early in your career, you don't know what to look for. You don't know how much you don't know. And you have to understand, hiring in and of itself is one of the biggest and most impactful decisions you can make in your business. You're bringing people because you need them to help you scale. You need to get them on your side, but these people should be add values. They should be an addition to what you're trying to achieve. So often we make excuses for others. We tell ourselves that only if we're more patient, only if we do XYZ, only if we provide more support. But at some point, you need to take the decision. You need to understand that your inability to hire quality people comes down to you. It comes down to your inability to effectively see the person and the item or the idea that is worth investing into, and your idea or your inability to cut things off when things become difficult. So many times I've been unable to cut ties with the right or the wrong people because of the fear of inaction, because of the inability to actively say, listen, this is not a right fit. This is good for you and this is good for me if we part ways. It's that discomfort. It's that uncomfortable situation of having to sit someone down, to look them in the eye and to say, this is not a right fit. Most people avoid that. Most people, they fear the idea of getting into those difficult situations. And this is what I've learned. The more time you spend with the wrong hires, the less time you spend with the right people that are going to help you grow the business in a way that makes sense for you and makes sense for them. Spend less time with poor quality hires. Spend more time building your company up to attract the right people, to galvanize them, to get them on your side so that they can do what you can't, and you can build a prosperous business for everyone involved. Number 3 is the inability to delegate properly. This is often talked about. You cannot delegate not because you don't want to delegate, but if you have poor quality hires, you don't delegate because you don't trust the people that you're with. And this all comes down to you. There's no use in telling yourself, this person, I cannot trust them because they're a bad person. You're a bad person for being unable to actively make the right decisions in your business. Look at a situation with two faces. You have the one side where your inability to make a concise decision on the performance of someone in your organization leads you to not delegate, leads you to not trust others. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you don't trust the people that are with you, the more they will fail to show you that they deserve your trust. And you might think that, oh, this is because they're untrustworthy in the first place. But it's because you're unable to get what you need out of the situation. So what you end up doing is you default to non-delegation. You default to non-trusting. You default to doing everything yourself. You default to putting yourself in a stressful situation, which is not good for you, it's not good for the business, and it's not good for the person in front of you. So this comes down to make the right hiring decisions, create the right kind of company entity, be clear with your job description, be clear with your goals for the company, and give people the space and the trust, the support, and be willing to cut ties when the time is right or the time is wrong. And number 4, this is something that killed me and something that I should have implemented way earlier, which is improper accounting or improper bookkeeping and not setting the right financial targets for the company. For the longest time, I operated with the idea or the sense of how I felt about the business. If I felt that the business was doing good in month XYZ, then it was doing good. If it wasn't doing good, then I would hop into overdrive and all of a sudden I would be trying to create a bunch of new orders, a bunch of new campaigns. And I did this for the longest time. I did this for 5-6 years. And by some miracle, we're still around today. But you have to understand, the earlier you can implement proper financial tracking, tracking your orders, tracking your expenses, tracking your financial accounts, tracking your large customer accounts, tracking where your payments are being sent to, and what are the highest percentage of your cost of goods sold. Being able to have immense clarity over your financial position gives you the tools that you need to set financial targets, to break up that financial target per year, then per quarter, then per month, then per week. You need to have something to aspire towards. You need to have a target. The only target is your financial target. Numbers don't lie. If you're doing well, it's going to reflect well on your books. If you're doing poorly, well, that's also going to be the case. Most people are afraid to look at their bank account. They're afraid to look at their financial status because they know they're doing poorly. They know they're not hitting their targets. So what they do is they default to this emotional sense of, oh, I feel like I'm doing good or I feel like I'm doing bad. I was guilty of this and sometimes I'm still guilty of this. This is not to tell you that I'm perfect or that I've overcome all of these challenges. On the contrary, these are challenges that I'm aware of, and I'm telling you today, don't fall into the same trap. Learn from me. Learn from the 7 years of painstaking hardship that I've gone through to build this business from nothing to what it is today, and the continuous pain that I suffer on a day-to-day basis to be able to make it happen. It doesn't have to be this way. Take the right step. Number 5 is not balancing the business correctly and typically gravitating towards the things that I like to do on a day-to-day basis that I'm interested in, not necessarily the things that give me the biggest, the highest return on my investment. I'm a designer by trade. I'm a creative by trade. And what I'm really good at, I'm really good at financial. I'm really good at the 3D modeling of the garments. I'm really good at the rendering. I'm really good at the creative. I'm really good at selling. But there are certain things that are not necessary at this stage in my business. I've hired over 25 different people. I have people in my business that are dedicated towards those goals. So why should I spend any time doing the things that I've hired others to do? In this case, I tend to prioritize the things that I'm more interested in rather than the things that will give me a bigger return on my investment. These can be things such as business strategy. These can be things such as company culture, company management. These can be things such as business development. Those are the areas that I'm going to find the biggest ROI on my time. Don't gravitate towards the things you know, because you want to avoid the things that bring you pain, the things that are boring, the things that you don't want to do. You have to do the things that you don't want to do. It is in those areas, it is in those moments that you'll find the biggest opportunities for growth. Do not shy away from it. You did not and were not put in this business so that you can have a great time all the time. Sure, you can enjoy what you do, but you have to understand that with those moments comes moments where you have to do what you don't want to do, and you must do it with love, and you must do it with the biggest heart that you can. This is what I've learned, is that I need to focus on where I get the biggest return on my investment, not where I enjoy spending my time the most. Number 6 is the constant inability to separate work time from personal time. You have to understand that in life, you have to have a varied mindset. Sure, you should be focused on your career. You should be focused on your goals. You should have a meticulous sense of where you want to take the business, how you want to scale it, how you want to bring in new customers. But at some point, you need to live a varied life. You need to live a deep life that is three-dimensional. You need to have meaningful relationships. You need to help others. You need to go outside of what you know on a day-to-day business basis and be able to separate the two. For me, to this day, I still have crippling anxiety when I'm out of the office, when I'm not working, when I'm not doing the things that I need to do. And I know that so many people in my position face that as well. I'll tell you this, over the long run, it can become increasingly taxing. It's not something that drives you, it may be something that holds you back. Knowing how to separate your time at the office, knowing how to separate the time where you're working towards your goals from the time that you need to detach, that you need to give your time to others, that you need to be present with person XYZ is effective and important. It is part of being a good human being, of being someone that is happy to be around other people. How I've tried to do that is to understand that those moments, it is in those moments and those times that I'm able to grow myself as a person in ways that are more rounded and more varied, that allow me to enhance my presence in the business. They're complementary. It doesn't have to be black or white. There can be a situation in which both exist, in which you live a balanced and healthy life. Sure, you may be trending more towards your business aspect. You may be giving 90%, 80%, 70% of your time to your business, 30% of your time to your personal life. But it is in that 30% that you must go all in. Just as you go all in with your business, you must go all in with the things that are outside of that. You must create the character that creates the business, not the other way around. The business doesn't make the man makes the business. So you should give the man the time, the ability to grow and to cultivate the things that are outside of the career. Number 7 is the fear of vulnerability and holding others accountable. Most people think that the fear of vulnerability is a strength, that in order for me to protect myself, that I must be invulnerable to others, that I must not show a side or a softer or a more open side to those around me. In the case of that, it is quite the opposite. It's the inability to be open with the people that you trust that is the biggest weakness of them all. Not being able to sit someone down and to be frank with them, to be honest with them, to have to sugarcoat certain things, or to hold certain things to yourself because you don't want the pain of having to share that, is in and of itself a weakness. It's not a fortress. It's not a part where you're strengthening yourself by walling off who you are and who your character is. Sure, you don't need to share everything with everyone. There are certain people that shouldn't have certain things shared with them, but understanding that it is in your vulnerability that you can showcase the biggest amount of strength, because it says that despite my weaknesses, that even if you target these weaknesses, that I'm willing and capable of growing from them and becoming better because of it. At the same time, hold others accountable. Be willing to have difficult conversations. Be willing to sit someone down, tell them you're not doing enough, you're not doing the right things. How can we both move forward and get better? I'm willing to have these difficult conversations now in a later part of my career, because I understand that holding things in benefits no one. It benefits not you, it doesn't benefit the person, it doesn't benefit the business, it doesn't benefit the community, it doesn't benefit the client. Make sure that you are willing to enforce the rules. Most people are unwilling to enforce the rules because the rules are not clear to begin with. Be clear with your expectations. Follow up regularly. Be concise, be professional, be respectable, and hold people accountable. Number 8 is a lack of open and clear communication with myself and the people that are closest to me, especially within the business. I think it's important to understand that there's never going to be the perfect moment in which all of a sudden things get slower, in which things become more calm, in which the business has more time and you have more time to do the things that are effective, such as strategy, planning, communication with your partners, communication with the people that are going to drive drive your business, people that are the heads of your company, that are the leading part of your company that you rely on, that you need to have on your side. The more you fall into the weeds of the business, the less time that you have to have the meaningful conversations that allow you to expose the weaknesses of what you're doing, the opportunities, the strengths, the areas that we need to push deeper and further in. My lack of communication has caused me so many challenges. It's allowed me, and we're not allowed to push with the right people, to cultivate the right type of team. And sure, this is always something that is a work in progress, but a lack of communication is not a virtue. It's not virtuous to hold everything in and to assume that you can do it all on your own. I find that a lack of communication never comes from the fact that you don't want to communicate. It comes from the fact that you just think you can do it all on your own, and that with the right steps, with the right amount of time, with the right amount of hours in the day, that you can take on the burdens of everything around you, and that you can do what you need to do without the help or the communication of anyone else involved. Take a moment, take a step back, sit, figure out the things that are troublesome that you need to have other people's opinions on, and communicate. Make it a weekly and a regular part of your routine to ask, to have open-minded conversations, because it is in the moments where you're the most closed-minded that you need to open your mind the most. It is the moments where you think you know everything, and you think that everything that you've done is what has gotten you to this position, that you need to have that ability to take a step back and say, sure, it may have gotten me to this point, but if I'm so arrogant to believe that I'm the only one that's right and that no one else can give or communicate something that can add value to what I'm doing, then this is it. This is the pinnacle of what I've achieved. No, it is in those conversations that you can scale to the next level. It is in those conversations that you can overcome some of the biggest challenges that you face, but you need to have an open mind and an open communication.